Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Going the Distance. This is episode 75. Can you believe we've done 75 episodes? I can't, but I want to welcome the new members who are just joining me for the first time, and I want to welcome back the members who have been joining me from the beginning. Your support is greatly appreciated. So, before we get started, hit the thumbs up and like the video, hit the subscribe button, and hit the notification bell so you never miss an episode when I drop a video or a short. And after the video, feel free to drop a comment. Let me know what you think of the video and any thoughts. So we're going to get into it. We got some football news to get into, some basketball news to get into, some NBA scores for the playoffs, some hockey playoff scores, and UFL week. And then, as always, we've got the What We're Listening To segment. And I'm really excited about this week in the What We're Listening To segment. So let's jump into it. So first off, we're going to talk about Derek Carr, who retired from the NFL after 11 years on Saturday. And this surprised me because I thought he was going to come back for another season with the Saints because he just signed, I think, a 4-year deal. And he was entering his second year of his 4-year deal. But he had a shoulder injury that sidelined him for half the season last season. And back in March, I believe it was, they said his shoulder was still messed up and he had rotator cuff issues. And it was his throwing shoulder. So that was, what's to say he wasn't going to have the mobility and the power behind the throw anyway. Now, you think of Derek Carr and you think the Las Vegas Raiders, at least I do, because he spent the majority of his career with the Raiders, and then him and the Raiders had this disagreement. I guess it was a contract. Don't know what it was, but then they released him, and then he goes and signs with the New Orleans Saints, and then he was injury prone. I think he hurt his ankle, and then he hurt his shoulder, and then the shoulder's what kept him out. And after 11 seasons, he retired. So, don't know what he's going to do now that he's retired, but I can't wait to find out. So, congratulations on a good career, Derek. In fact, in my opinion, you're going to be one of the players that I put in never win a Super Bowl, and in my opinion, should have won a Super Bowl because I thought you were that good. But that's just me. What do you guys think? Moving on, we're going to talk about a little bit of the NBA, and we're going to talk about the Dallas Mavericks. They did their picks for the draft lottery. The draft isn't until next month, but they're getting everything set up for the draft this month. Picking their spots and everything because the NBA draft isn't like the NFL draft where you lose in the playoffs, you lose in the regular season, that's where you stay. And it does depend on record, but then with them doing the draft now throughout the, next month during the still during the playoffs, makes it a little hard. But the number one pick was picked by Dallas, the Dallas Mavericks, and they've already said they're picking Cooper Flagg out of Duke, and have already said we're not taking any offers on trading the first overall pick. We're taking Cooper Flagg, and that's who we're taking. So, let's see how Cooper Flagg does with the Dallas Mavericks. They got Luka, they've got Kyrie now. So, let's see what it is. So, actually breaking just a few minutes ago in baseball news, Pete Rose, Shoeless Joe Jackson, and others were removed from the Major League Baseball banned list. Now, Pete Rose was banned for gambling. Shoeless Joe, can't quite remember why he was banned, but you watch the movie Field of Dreams, Shoeless Joe was in that movie, and they explain all that in the movie. But it's great to see that they're no longer on the ban list, even though they have passed away, so they can't come back. So it defeats the purpose. But it's good to know that won't. I guess now it won't be as tarnishing on their legacy. So moving on, We're going to talk about the NBA playoffs for the second round, some scores. On Thursday, we had the Wolves defeat the Warriors 117-93 to tie that series at one game apiece. The Cavaliers defeated the Pacers 126-104. The Pacers still lead that series, but that series is now 2-1. The Nuggets defeat the Thunder 113-104. Nuggets lead the series 2-1. On Saturday, the Celtics defeated the Knicks 115-93. The Knicks lead that series 2-1. Come on, Celtics, you need to win this series. You're not playing like a championship team. The Wolves defeated the Warriors 102-97. So now the Wolves lead that series 2-1. On Sunday, we had the Thunder defeat the Nuggets 92-87 to tie that series at 2 games apiece. The Pacers defeated the Cavaliers 129-109. The Pacers lead that series 3-1, so the Pacers have one more game to close this series out and move on to the conference championship. It's been a heck of a series. It looks like it's been a good one. I haven't been able to see a lot of those games, but that looks like it's been a good one. On Monday, we had the Knicks defeat the Celtics 121-113. The Knicks lead that series 3-1, which means, like the Pacers, the Knicks have one more game to play before they win this series against the Celtics. And to be honest, the Celtics hadn't played like a championship team. I watched that game last night, and they blew the lead. They let the Knicks come back on them. And so they're not playing like a championship team. I'm sorry about my voice today, y'all. I'm fighting a head cold, and I think I'm on the back end of it, but that's why I sound the way I do. Anyway, the Wolves defeat the Warriors 117-110. So now the Wolves lead that series 3-1, which again means brink of elimination for the Warriors. What is it with all these, 3-1 series wins now? I would think, second round it'd be right up there, but we'll see. Moving on to the NHL playoffs, we have the Capitals. On Thursday, we had the Capitals defeat the Hurricanes 3-1 to tie that series at one game apiece. The Oilers defeated the Knights 5-4 in overtime. The Oilers lead that series 2-0. On Friday, the Panthers defeated the Maple Leafs 5-4 in overtime, and so the Leafs lead that series 2-1. The Jets defeat the Stars 4-0 to tie that series at 1 game apiece. So go Stars. On Saturday, we had the Hurricanes defeat the Capitals 4-0. So the Canes lead that series 2-1. And that's an interesting series because I like both teams. But if I had to pick a favorite in this one, I'd pick the Hurricanes. The Knights defeat the Oilers 4-3, so the Oilers lead that series 2-1. The Oilers, wait, yeah, so the Oilers still lead that series 2-1. I thought I messed up there, but the Knights, this was the Knights' first win of that series, so that's where I messed up there. I'm sorry. On Sunday, we had the Stars defeat the Jets 5-2. So Dallas leads that series 2-1. Go Dallas. And the Panthers defeated the Leafs 2-0 to tie that series at 2 games apiece. On Monday, last night, we had the Canes defeat the Capitals 5-2. So the Canes lead that series 3-1, which means the next game, if the Hurricanes win that game, they move on to the next round, which would be great. Also, we had the Oilers defeat the Knights 3-0, so the Oilers now lead that series 3-1, which again, like the Hurricanes, mean one more win and y'all win the series and move on. So again, what is it with all this? I thought by now we'd have 3-2 or 2-2 tie series is throughout this time, but they're just blowing them out. I don't know why, but it's all been good. It's all been good. Moving on to the UFL, week 7, which I can't believe we're in 7. We've watched 7 weeks of the UFL. On Friday night, we had the Defenders improved to 5-2, defeating the Brahmas, who dropped to 1-6 with a 32-24 victory. That was on Friday. On Saturday, we had the Panthers improved to 5-2, defeating the Renegades, who dropped to 3-4 with a 25-24 win. Don't know what happened to the Renegades. They came out strong. It was like they had a 3-1 record, and now they keep losing. So I don't know what's going on with them. But they need to get it together because they were a championship team in the league before the UFL and the USFL and the XFL combined. So don't know what's going on there. So get it together, Renegades. On Sunday, which was Mother's Day, we had the Stallions improved to 5-2, defeating the Roughnecks, who dropped to 3-4 with a 33-25 victory. And the Battlehawks improved to 5-2, defeating the Showboats, who dropped to 1-6 with a 19-9 victory. So, again, I think the Battlehawks, the Stallions, the Panthers, and the Defenders are the 4 teams to beat. In fact, those would be the 4 teams I think would go to. Those would be the 4 teams that would be in the playoffs, and I would probably pick the Stallions and the Defenders for a championship game if I had to right now. But we'll see how the rest of the season matches up. We still got a few weeks of the regular season, and then we move into the playoffs. But now we're going to move into the Week 8 predictions. So on Friday night, we have the Showboats, the 1-6 Showboats, at the 1-6 Brahmas. I'm picking the Showboats in that one. So that's Friday at 8 on Fox. On Saturday at 1 o'clock on Fox, we have the 5-2 Stallions against the 5-2 Battlehawks. Really? Do I really have to tell you who I'm going for? I picked the Stallions in that game. At 1 o'clock on Fox on Saturday, we have the 5-2 Panthers at the 3-4 Roughnecks. I've got the Panthers winning that game. On Sunday, we have the 3-4 Renegades at the 5-2 Defenders. I'm actually picking the Defenders in that game. That's at noon on ABC. So moving on Fox, for golf news, we had Steph Starka win at 16 under. They played in Pennsylvania at the Truist Championship. So Staka was 16 under. Justin Thomas was 14 under, tied for second. Shane Lowry was tied for second at 14 under. Patrick Cartley was tied for fourth at 12 under. And Jacob Bridgeham was tied for fourth at 12 under. So we had Roy McIlroy was actually tied for 7th at 10 under, and I bring him up because he's one of my favorite golfers, and he was the Masters Championship. So I will bring you guys the scores next week to tell you who wins the golf championship next week. Moving on to some music news. Something I should have covered last week that I didn't was one of my favorite bands, Need to Breathe. Their bass player, Seth, said he was going to take time away from the band to focus on his family, which I think is fine. They've been touring a lot. They were, recording and touring, and I was able to see them on tour last year in April, and I saw them open for One Republic back in 2023. So, Seth, we wish you the best. We hope to see you back with the band soon. Also, in music news, we had Puddle of Mud release their new album. They're releasing singles now. I'm pretty sure their new album has been released. So if you guys are Puddle of Mud fans, go check that out. I'm sure I'll take a listen to it and give you guys a brief synopsis of the new album. My favorite album from Puddle of Mud's actually Come Clean, and that's got Drift and Die and Blurry on it. Blurry was a big time single for them. In fact, you think Puddle of Mud, you think Blurry. But I'll do what we're listening to on Puddle of Mud, and we'll talk about them. Don't want to get sidetracked there. But speaking of the who we're listening to segment, that brings us to that segment. So who are we listening to this week? We're listening to Blake Shelton. He's a country singer from Ada, Oklahoma. Actually, he's my favorite country singer. He started making music in 2001 with his self-titled debut. I found out about him in 2001 with his very first single, Austin. As I said, his debut album was self-titled. He's now had 13 studio albums, 56 singles, 44 music videos, 5 compilation albums, no live albums, and his new album is for recreational use only. I'm listening to it right now. This is probably the second time I've put it on rotation, and it is a good album. It's got songs like his single Texas, a song called Let Him In Anyway, which is a real tearjerker. But he's got some duets on here, like he's got another duet with his wife, Gwen Stefani, and called Hanging On, which is a really good one. And since him and Gwen have been married, and they've been together for 10 years now, which I can't believe this is their 10th year together, and they've only been married for a few years. But ever since they got together, they've done duets together. In fact, they've got their very first duet is on my favorite Blake Shelton album, which I'll get to in a little bit. But anyway, moving another duet he's got on here is a song called Heaven Sweet Home, which features Craig Morgan, which is another one of my favorite country artists, and I'll do what we're listening to on him. And then he's got a duet with old-time country singer John Anderson called Years, which is another good one. So, as I was saying, my favorite album from him is If I'm Honest, and that's got songs like Guy with the Girl, which is a great song, Came Here to Forget, and this is actually the album that has him and Gwen's first duet together on it, and that was called Go Ahead and Break My Heart. So this was actually, Blake has been married twice before, but he was married, his second marriage was to Miranda Lambert. So this was kind of his album away from his first album, Getting Over Miranda. And so that's where some of the song names came from, which I think is a great album. So in the what song or album we're listening to, I want you guys to listen to the If We're Honest album. Let me know what you guys think. See if you guys like it as much as I do. And listen to the For Recreational Use Only album. Both of them are good albums, but all his albums are good. He's got a good sense of humor, and he always has a funny song on one of his albums. He's got, a song on one of his albums from I think it's called Cold River Blue or something. I'm pretty sure it's called Red River Blue. I'm sorry, is the name of that album. It's called Hey, and then he's got a song on his last album that's called the song's called Corn, and both of them are as funny as they can be. They make me laugh out loud every time I hear them. But he's got a great sense of humor. He'd be a guy you'd want to go have a beer with. And but yeah, he's a real honest guy. He likes to joke around, but he knows how to be serious too. But go check out Blake Shelton. And that's about all I've got for this week. I hope all the mothers had a wonderful Mother's Day. I hope you guys have a great rest of the week, a great weekend, and we will be back next week to go the distance. Thank you guys. God bless.